Hey everybody, what's up? Jim Sorrell and Tanya Klein here from Coverage Inc., the leader in screenplay analysis, development, and editing services for over 20 years. What's up, everybody? What's up, Tanya? How you doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
And say hello to the Chihuahua.
Hello, Chihuahua.
Hello, Chihuahua. What are we talking about today, Tanya?
Well, today we're going to talk about something that a lot of people have questions about, namely, how do you get representation? In other words,
Oh,
how do you get an agent or a manager?
wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, and before we get into that, let's briefly talk about the difference between an agent and a manager, because often people use those terms interchangeably and they're not.
Yeah,
Two different things. So, a couple of things. An agent is registered, a manager is not. So, a manager, anybody can hang out a shingle and say, "Hi, I'm a manager." No
yeah,
matter if they have, any connections or know what they're doing.
right.
Also, an agent can negotiate contracts for you. A manager legally cannot do that. So, they usually partner often, like with an agent or a lawyer.
Right.
Also, historically speaking, and
Let me
that's
let me just interject there. Legally, they can't do that, but lots of times, agents leave an agency or get fired from an agency, and then they become a manager, and then they still will go and act like an agent and negotiate, even though they're not legally supposed to.
yes. Also, historically speaking, and that is changing a little bit, agents are or have been seen and still are seen as the salespeople. So they want, you produce, they sell, produce, sell, produce, sell. Whereas a manager has, managers usually take the more holistic view of a person and their
Right.
career and, will develop somebody, will develop a writer, will nurture a writer, will, look out for their career long term. And that is still true to a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. To an extent.
However,
Right.
economic necessities often dictate the fact that nowadays managers also don't just want a baby writer with a strong voice, they also want a writer with stuff that they can sell right now, right here, right now. They need to keep the lights on.
Exactly. And again, like I said, a lot of them used to be agents who now find themselves just hanging up a shingle that says manager, but they still act like an agent, which means they don't really develop. Part of the manager's job description is to find and nurture and develop the next generation of screenwriting talent. But a lot of the so-called managers that are out there now, who used to be agents, they don't know how to do that. A lot of them don't even really have great story sense. They just depend on coverage. So there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, they take agents and managers take 10%. Now, legally, agents can only take 10%. However, managers can take basically, I mean, they're not registered, so legally they can tell you, I'm going to take 50%. I mean, they're not going to do that. In the olden days, when they were still more into holistically, taking charge of a client's career, they would take 15%. However, that's come down, and now usually they only take 10% as well.
Right. It's usually 10 and 10 for the agent, 10 for the agent, 10 for the manager, and then the attorney, when you're at a certain level, you'll want to have an attorney who's brokering all your deals. That's 5%. There are some managers who do take 15, and they justify that by saying, with me, you don't need an agent. Guess who those people are? The ones who used to be an agent, generally speaking.
Exactly. So, both agents and managers are supposed to help a client advance their career, sell their scripts, bring their scripts to market, get writing assignments, get deals, all of the above. So now that we've gone through the differences, Jim, who do you think
Anya.
is easier to get? An agent or a manager if you are a baby writer trying to break into this business?
All right, well, let's dispel some nonsense right off the bat. Around 15 years ago, one of the very first videos I ever dropped for Coverage Inc. is sort of dealt with this topic, and basically it was, how do you get an agent? And the answer is you don't. And this is the truth. You don't get an agent. That's the big difference between an agent and a manager for the most part is you can't really get an agent. So here's what I mean by that. Um, Agents aren't generally looking for new or emerging writers. Okay. So you can query all you want. The chances of actually getting a response from an agent are slim to none. And what happened to Slim, Tanya?
Oh, the dude that left town?
Slim just left. Slim just left town. Exactly. So, the way one gets an agent, generally speaking, there are exceptions, like when someone's just been promoted at an agency and they're looking to build their list, then sometimes they will read, emerging talent. But generally, you get that through referrals. You're working with a manager. I'm sorry, yeah, with a manager or with a producer who you're developing your project with. And then when you get to a certain point when the script is ready to shop, or you've got like some heat going on in your career just from stuff you've managed to make happen yourself, or that the manager has managed to make happen, then the agent will generally come into the picture, usually when like a lot of the heavy lifting has already been done and they just have to then be like, okay, great, now let me, pour gasoline on that fire and help explode it. So one doesn't really get an agent until one is ready to get an agent. So like proactively sending out queries and trying to get one is generally not going to work. So that's the big difference. Managers do supposedly read query letters. They do supposedly, seek contest winners and finalists and people who they've heard have great voices and actively read them to try to find new talent to develop and chaperone.
And couple of things, and I feel like I'm saying this with every video we do, but so there are two sets of rules in this town.
You don't say.
I know, I don't say.
Okay, but look, it's good that you stress this over and over because people just don't get this. How many times have people come back to us and said, well, yeah, but in The Godfather, that movie was 3 hours long and, the inciting incident doesn't even come in until page 37. Like, yeah. And, when you are making a big studio movie for Paramount with, Francis Coppola, you'll be able to do that as well. But if you're just breaking in, different rules for thee than for me.
Exactly. So remember this. If you are just breaking in and you don't, and we're just operating under the assumption here that you're not anybody's kid or spouse or brother or sister,
Right.
um, because let's face it, this business runs on nepotism.
Oh, the rules are very, very different for Nepo babies. In fact, there really are no rules.
Exactly. So if you're just breaking in regular Joe, Jane, Schmo, Ryder, um, then there are a few things agents and managers, and again, you will start out hoping to get a manager, are looking for. And those things are marketability of your projects, because again, these
Number one.
people, yeah,
Number one.
these people need to keep the lights on as well. This is a business. So if you have a 3 hour period piece that is set in the Middle Ages, not good.
Well, see our other video about that. We could
Yeah,
talk about this forever.
exactly.
We
So
have a whole
number one,
video.
marketability. Number two, have more than one script.
Yeah,
Just have more than one script. Again, they need to see that you are not just someone who wrote one good script but doesn't have ideas for a second good script.
that's the key thing. So we do this promotion called Get Rep Now regularly, where we elevate our considerers that come in here at Coverage Inc. to our manager panel. And time and again, every year we see this where a manager will meet with the writer of a script that they liked, and then they say, "What else have you got?" And if the answer is not, here's my list of other ideas or log lines or scripts I've finished, they're not interested.
If your answer is, hi, I've got a rom-com, a horror, a sci-fi, and a period piece, Also not good
Right.
because they want to pigeonhole you because they need to sell you. So they need to tell people, this is my action gal, this is my horror dude.
Right. And if your follow-up script, the what else have you got? If you have something else that you send to them, if that isn't at the same level as the first script that got you in the door, then you're probably also not going to be considered for representation because it's not generally just about a single piece of material that they can blast out and sell. I mean, sometimes if it's a real high concept idea and it's a real no-brainer, then sure. But generally, these people are looking for talent that they can monetize over the course of a career. It's not just about one sale or one commission. It's about working with you for 5 or 10 years and lots of sales and commissions. That's what they are ideally are looking for.
And another thing to be aware of, don't be an asshole. I mean, it
Ah,
should go without saying, but
what are you saying, Tanya?
I know it doesn't, strangely. So basically, you need to be easy to work with because
Well,
otherwise, why would they want to work with you? And
look, my scripts are perfect. I'm sorry. I don't need this shit.
exactly. So they will have a lot of notes. Got to be able to take the notes. You got to be able to implement the notes.
Managers want to work with people who are sponges. They want people who are receptive to their ideas. And, sometimes their ideas might not be that great, but you better damn well listen to them. You may find as you're working with those ideas, yeah, you know what? I hated this at first, but it's actually pretty good. That happens a lot. But basically, it's a collaborative thing, and you want your representative to feel like they have skin in the game. And that happens when they're able to contribute to the development of your story idea.
Absolutely. And the other thing to remember is because I think a lot of writers believe that, oh, once I have representation, that's it. I've made it. I can now rest on my laurels and just wait for the money to come in. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. They get 10%. So they're going to do 10% of the work essentially. I mean, you still have to
Right.
you still have to give them good material they can sell. So at least two new pieces a year, two new polished pieces a year. And then you always want to be on the lookout for opportunities.
Yeah, you got to bring the
Even
hustle.
yeah, hustle, hustle, hustle. And maybe, if you see an opportunity, make them aware of the opportunity in
Right.
case they have not seen this
Yes.
opportunity for you. So again, you still got to drive this bus.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody thinks that once they get rep, they can just sit back and, take the meetings and everything's going to happen for them. Like, no, you still need to bring the hustle. You need to drive things. Just be very careful. You don't want to step on their toes. All right. You always, once you have a rep, that's great. Anything you're thinking of doing, involve them in that. Ask their opinion of that. Always tell them what's going on. Like, let's say you have a legacy producer who who's a fan from a couple of years ago. You might say, oh, hey, so and so, I just want to let you know I'm sending this script over to this person on the QT, right? And then they might go, oh, okay, great, no problem. Thanks for letting me know. And then if anything happens with that, that'll be you who made that happen. Always be doing that. But your rep might also say, you know what, that's not the best move for this piece of material right now. Let's discuss some other ideas I have. So just keep them in the loop, but still, you have to always keep driving the train forward. And speaking of which, so let's get back to the whole premise, which is how do you land one of these people to help you, right? Well, we already said it's probably not going to be an agent at first, right? So managers are the most accessible, generally speaking. All right. You're still going to get a lot of managers who never respond to a query letter or just don't care. But for the most part, they are more accessible than agents, right? So
Yes, however, let me quickly jump in here. Do research them because, as we've said before, anybody can hang out a shingle and say, hi, I'm a manager. So do research these people that you're querying. Who are they? What have they done before? Who are their clients?
right. So we've already mentioned querying a bunch of times. Querying does work. Like everything else in this business, it's incredibly hard because the odds are against you, right? But they do work. I personally have been signed from a query letter like 15 years ago or so, it worked. Why did it work? Well, I wrote a good query for one, and we'll talk about that in another video, how to write a good query. But also, you got to bring it in terms of showing your bona fides on the page, right? Any sort of bona fides that you have, whether it's good coverage, finalist status at well-known contests, you've got fans in the industry, you've gotten some media coverage or YouTube, or you've got 10,000 followers on TikTok, whatever it is that makes you that makes you an interesting person or someone who they might want to meet with. That's what you have to bring on the page. And then, of course, you have to pitch your story in a really tight and fascinating and interesting way. And it's got to be a commercial sounding story. But the last piece of that, and probably the most important piece, is voice, right? You've got maybe 10 to 15 seconds that person is going to give your query letter before they hit the delete button. You know what's going to make them not hit the delete button? You hit them in the face with your amazing voice, right? Then they'll be engaged. They'll say, what's this person got to say? And they will read to the end of your query. And if they like the story idea that you're pitching, they might just roll the dice and say, sure, let's take a look. And maybe that'll still be, 3% of the queries that you send out. That's incredible, right? That still means out of 100 queries, you're going to have 3 reps who are checking out your material. Any one of them, if you bring it on the page, might go, hey, you know what? Let's have a meeting. I want to talk to you more about this project. Doors open. It's up to you.
Yeah. And so to summarize what Jim just said, a lot of it is also about third-party validation, because in this business, nobody trusts their own opinion. It's just, you never get fired for a no. You do get fired for a yes. So you want to make sure that other people have also said yes. That's essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah,
Also, apart from queries, there are other ways to hopefully meet managers.
sure.
There are panels that you can go to. There are, of course, paid pitch sessions you can do. There are film festivals you can go to.
Yeah. So let's hit each of those separately because they're all worthy of discussion. So panels, there's less of them now since the pandemic, but fortunately they're coming back. Looks like there's going to be one in LA coming up in January or
Yeah,
February. I think we're going to be there. We're going to be speaking, which will be cool. But yeah, the more they come back, the more you can actually get to see these people, be in the room with them, listen to what they have to say, and then maybe, grab their ear for a couple of seconds, the better. Video pitching, stuff like that. There are services like Roadmap and Stage 32 where you can actually, buy 10 minutes of time in a Zoom with these people. Great way to get in their face. You're literally getting in their face. And if you present well and are compelling and have an interesting idea, they might just roll the dice and take a look at your material. Film festivals. Okay, so particularly at a high level, you're going to get a lot of industry attending, right? Anything Hollywood Industrial Complex approved film festivals. We all know what those are, right? I mean, basically the low to mid-level ones, you're probably not going to find much industry there. You may find producers, though. You may find independent producers. So, it may always be worth a dice roll to go check them out. You never know when you're going to find a partner or, a writing partner, somebody you want to collaborate with. But generally speaking, if you go to the larger film festivals, the industry does tend to send people to those festivals, particularly if you have something in competition. It's a great way to meet them.
absolutely. And let's not forget networking.
Oh, yeah.
Because look, coming back to third-party validation, if a client of this manager says, hey, read my friend's stuff, perfect, you're in, that's it. I mean, of course, they have to like your stuff, but again, they will read. If one of their clients asks them to read somebody else, they will do that.
Yeah. So, basically, look, it's real easy to get frustrated by this process. How many times do you send out a query, you get no response, or you get a response, no thanks, not for us? And this happens script after script after script, right? This is not unusual. This is not anything that we should be, giving up hope over. It's just the way the business works because it has to be that way. There are tens of thousands of writers who are trying to get these small handful of representatives' attention at any given time. So it's incumbent upon us to learn what they are looking for, to learn how to present both our material and ourselves in the most compelling way possible. And the secret to that is voice, writing voice, to tell them right away, as soon as they read the first sentence or two of your query letter, to grab them by the throat. And the other thing is to understand what they are looking for, which is something they can sell.
Exactly. And I think also expectation management is important
Sure.
because I think especially new writers, if you're just out of film school, you're like, okay, they're gonna beat a path to my door. That's probably not gonna happen. I mean,
Right.
so don't get frustrated, just manage your expectations.
Hey, I was that naive noob 30 years ago, Tanya. So, and I still am in a way.
Exactly. So basically, just do the work.
Do the work, keep at it. And if somebody says pass, just move on. It's fine. You know what? Oh, here's a great anecdote to close on. Okay, so we have a Get Rep Now script that right now the fellow just met with one of the managers who liked his script. The first thing the manager said when I introduced the two of them via email was, "Oh, hey, blast from the past. Good to hear from you. How you doing?" Now, I don't know the story behind that, but I think we can guess that that means that these guys have interacted before on another script. Maybe it was 5 years ago, whatever. Maybe it was a pass. It didn't work out. But now, but that guy, that manager remembered that guy, and now they're going to be working together on this new project. Just because it's not happening now doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future. And the pipe that you lay now is going to be a potential relationship down the line.
Exactly. So go get him.
Thanks for watching, everybody. You know what to do right now. There is a button. It's right. No, you know what? I don't know where the button is. It doesn't matter. Click it though. It's the like button. And then this other one over here, I think it says subscribe. Do those two things. We would really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.